folks, Sally Ricks here, fellow long hauler, former long COVID coach, and your intrepid travel guide, coming to you with a new video today talking about my Medibag. Before we get started, I want to give an apology. I have this fancy microphone and I am filming this from London, and one of my favorite things to do when I travel, which is very frequently, is forget one of the adapters that I need for something. And this fancy microphone needs some way of connecting itself to my iPhone, and both of the cables that may do that job are sticking out of the back of my desktop computer in my apartment in New York because I forgot to put them in my bag. I have all kinds of cables here. None of them is the right one. So apologies if the sound is appalling, but I wanted to just get this done for you and hopefully we can make it work. So I'm going to talk about what I bring in my Medibag every time I travel. And a couple of caveats here. This bag is slightly smaller that I use when I come to London, because in London there are a lot of things that I can get a hold of in Boots. There's a few things that I can get a hold of that are prescription, and so I don't have to bring as much with me as if I were going somewhere international or even within the US. So I have a slightly smaller bag than I would do in the US, and at some point when I'm on another trip, if I have a moment, I will sit down and record what's in that other bag. But just to give you that heads up, and I will talk specifically about what is missing that I can buy from good old Boots. But what is most important about this Medibag is this tag that I bought off of Amazon. I think it comes in a pack of 3. When I travel, I pretty much always travel carry-on. A number of reasons for that, not least of all because I don't want my bag to go missing and for me to not have any crucial things. And for those of you that travel carry-on frequently, you will know that you are only allowed 2 bags, 1 suitcase, certain dimensions, 1 personal item. If you bring a Medibag, every airline in the world allows you to bring a 3rd bag. Many times when I'm at the gate and the gate agent is checking and says, "Oh, ma'am, you have 3 bags," and I flash this tag and say, "This is my Medibag," and she will happily let me through. So it's really important, given how many medications are in here, that I have a separate bag. If I was limited to just the 2 bags, half of my suitcase would just be medication. But the other thing to keep in mind is that you cannot sneakily put other things in here. It has to just be meds. When they check it, they might check it. It needs to just be meds. So this is the one I bring for London. You can see inside there, but I'm going to go through each item one by one and show you what's in there because you need to know specifically what is inside. So first up, I am going to start with the most important thing, medications for if I get COVID again. I am very fortunate. I had COVID once in March 2020. I have not had COVID, a cold, flu, any kind of infection since then, and I am very fastidious about masking, about other COVID prevention precautions. I have a whole video about that, and I will link it so that you can also review that too. Even if you've watched it already, there's probably more stuff in there that you haven't seen. And obviously, nothing is fail-safe, and there is a very real possibility that I could get COVID again. And if I do, I want to get meds on board ASAP, and so I have them with me at all times. Also, to clarify, these are the meds that my doctor has recommended. I am not a prescriber. I am not recommending these specific medications to you. You will want to check that with your physician to make sure that you have the right meds prescribed. But basically what I did was I said, "Can I please have a just in case? Can you call in these meds that you would prescribe me if I tested positive for COVID?" And so I have them all just in case right here, and if I get sick, I have tests in my bag, and then if I test positive, then I can take the meds right away. So I'm going to show you what's in here, and again, just to clarify, this is not me telling you that you need these specific meds. Also, just to let you know that most of the medications in here are not in their original containers. I do keep controlled substances in their original containers because for legal reasons you have to do that. For this bag, for some reason, I do just keep them in the original container. It takes up a teeny bit more space, but it just felt easier at the time. So what I have in this first one is doxycycline, colchicine, if I'm pronouncing that right. The very controversial hydroxychloroquine. Again, to clarify, this is what my doctor has recommended. This may not be what your doc is telling you to take. Prednisone and some more colchicine. That is that first one. Then this second pack here, I have one course of Paxlovid. This was prescribed to me by one of my very kind New York doctors a long time ago as a just in case when I started traveling back in July 22. I know again that these may not necessarily go with that. Again, I would get advice at the time as to which one to prioritize. I know that Paxlovid has gone in and out of favor, and I just like to make sure I have all my options available to me. Two things. Many people are getting rebound after the 5-day dose and need to potentially get a second 5-day course. I figure this will at least bide me time until I can get that second prescription. The second thing to say is that these meds are out of date from February 23. Being raised by a physician, we used to talk about this a lot when I was a kid. The expiry date, I think my understanding is that pharmaceutical companies do an algorithm on the potency of the medication and time, and this is the latest date on which they can guarantee that it is still 100% potent. That does not mean that a month or two later it still won't be 100% potent, but in their hedging their bets, they couldn't be 100% sure. The rate at which the potency drops off is not instant. It doesn't go from 100% potency to zero overnight. It decays over time. I know that it is very common to ship expired meds to places that don't have access to prescription meds, and they're used routinely and very commonly and very effectively. I have absolutely no qualms about using something that is slightly out of date, especially if I know I'm going to get a second course. Under the heading of sustainability in the environment, I'm not in the business of putting this in the trash. That took a lot of energy and a lot of resources to make the second that it goes out of date. So this is fine with me. I know that that may not be the case for everybody, but I just wanted to put that out there. Also in this bag, I have some of the FLCCC protocol for if you test positive. We have high dose vitamin C. These are the little baggies that I keep most of my meds in, by the way, which you can get off of Amazon. You will see that most of my meds and supplements that are not controlled substances are in these. We have quercetin, Nigella sativa, which is black seed oil, vitamin D3, again a high dose, metformin, zinc, and melatonin 9 milligrams. And this seems to be 14 days, but all the rest are a 5-day course, which again, I'm assuming that will buy me time to get some more. And then in this final pouch, which is a little bit controversial again, and is mostly empty, I have 3 tablets left of ivermectin. I know that ivermectin again is quite controversial. Some people recommend it, some people don't. Whatever your understanding of the science, and I would say read the science rather than just read the controversy, there is some quite compelling evidence for its effectiveness in acute COVID. There is also some quite compelling evidence for its effectiveness prophylactically. However, it does have some very nasty side effects in the rare case that you happen to get them, and it's a little bit of a Russian roulette in that case as to whether you want to take that risk. And when I say nasty, I mean like you could wind up in the intensive care unit in very, very, very nasty situation. I did take this prophylactically last summer when I was on that cruise. I did about a month or two afterwards have some skin issues that led me to believe that I may be at risk for some nasty side effects. So for now I am pausing on that, which is why there's only 3 tablets in here. So these are all my if I test positive meds. I also have a box of COVID tests. This is full. There are 5 in here. I buy these in the UK. These are the Flowflex ones. I know that rapid tests these days are not super accurate. You can look up the different test brands, the different efficacy. These are some of the best, and also they're very easy to get a hold of in the UK in Boots. I think this was 10 quid for these 5, which I think is a very good price and fits nicely in my bag. Then we have, this one is my regular prescription meds. This one is my regular supplements. I'm not going to go through all of these because you don't need to know exactly all the medications that I'm taking. These days, when I come to England, I am just bringing exactly the amount that I need for my trip maybe a couple of days extra for both vitamin supplement things and prescription meds. And again, just to show you, they are all in baggies. This is fexofenadine. If you write on the front what it is, the dose, and when you take it, usually security is okay with that. Again, personal choice. Don't take my word as gospel here, but I have been very successful with this, and obviously that saves a lot of space. Sometimes when I'm going internationally, I will take a backup 14 extra days of my prescription meds, 14 extra days of my supplements. I have gotten to a point after more than 4 years with long COVID where I am pretty fed up to the back teeth of lugging this nonsense around, and more importantly, I'm pretty fed up to the back teeth before I travel of sitting down and counting out my meds every single time, especially because my meds change so frequently. I'm sure you have that same experience. Sometimes I don't bring those 14 days back up just because I'm absolutely bored to the back teeth of doing that. However, if you do get COVID in a foreign country and you cannot travel for 14 days, you kind of do need backup meds. So that is just my TDM and boredom with all of this nonsense. But I do highly recommend having those backup because we don't want to get caught short and not have all of our medications. I have lots of other exciting things in here, and you can see that is literally not even half of this bag. I basically keep them all organized in pouches. This one has B12 that I take every 2 weeks. I think it also has some syringes. Yep. Should do. It also has my motion sickness band, which I use on boats and things, and the gel that goes with that. Looks like this also has a few band-aids in it, some of these Alco wipes, some gauze, a little bit of a first aid kit. I do have a fantastic little mini first aid kit which has everything you might need for adventure travel. Obviously I'm not doing things that are super adventurous anymore, but because cuts and bruises don't heal as quickly anymore, but I don't have that in this bag because in London I can very easily get a hold of that stuff from Boots if I don't have what I need. I do have antiseptic wipes. I also have Clorox disinfecting wipes. If you are in a hotel, you know what I mean. Very frequently I'm wiping down the entire hotel because it just doesn't look clean enough. I also have little mini sachets of Miralax. If you know, you know. We have long COVID. Usually I would have enough for every single day. And I also have my Element, although I'm near the end of my trip and I've only got one left here. Usually I have a lot more, and I love that they are in the single serve sachets, which actually last me several days, which is very useful. Then we have some things that I routinely bring everywhere. This is D-ribose blend. It is called Forbose, and it has D-ribose and a few other cool things in it that are mitochondrial support. And this is my in case of emergency, if I get PEM, if I need mitochondrial support, this is always in my bag. Usually I have 2 pouches, and this is not a COVID thing. This is something I picked up years ago from a trip. I used to do a lot of group adventure travel, and a very cool woman told me that every time she goes anywhere, she has 2 pouches. One is her poo pouch and one is her cold pouch. When I come to the UK, I do not bring any cold and flu meds because the best cold and flu meds in the world are available from British pharmacies. There is a pharmacy on literally every street corner, and if I ever need any of those medications, it would take me 2 minutes to pick them up, and so I don't waste the space in here. But if I'm going anywhere else in the world, including America, American cold and flu meds are total nonsense. So I always have day and night nurse, throat lozenges, soluble aspirin, regular paracetamol or Tylenol as the Americans would call it. I think their bag also has some Piriton antihistamine, which for some reason I take a million antihistamines, and yet I always need Piriton as an extra backup in my bag. Normally I would have that additional bag. This is the poo pouch. Again, obviously we are super susceptible to gastro issues with long COVID, and so this has Pepto-Bismol, which we don't have in the UK, and I only discovered a few years ago. This is not just an antacid. This actually stops diarrhea very gently compared to loperamide, which is very aggressive. And so if you just have a little bit of traveler's tummy, you may not need to do loperamide and back yourself up for 10 days. You may just be okay with Pepto. I have some scopolamine patches, it looks like, which are not related to gastric issues. I have some ciprofloxacin, which again, if you have done any intrepid travel, you will know just one of these can stop traveler's tummy dead in its tracks. And I needed this in Costa Rica before I got COVID, which may be why I have COVID. This is also, travel sickness tablets from the UK, Stujon. So this one goes everywhere with me, and it's teeny tiny. You can put it in your day bag. Then we have a few more things in here. This is my O2 monitor, which you put on your finger. I would imagine that you have one of these yourself. I do also have a mini blood pressure one, which sometimes I will also put in the bag if I'm traveling within the US. This also has my Far UV in it. My HEPA filter is in my regular day bag because I carry it around all the time. I have knife, fork, and spoon plastic. Technically, that is not medication, but it fits in here. I have some of these zip fizz things. Don't know if you've taken any of these. They are kind of like this, but they have a little bit more vitamins, including B12, and a little bit of natural caffeine that can really pep you up. One of my former long COVID clients told me about this. It can make you a little bit hungry. There's some sugar in there, so I don't love the effect. But if you are really, really struggling with, again, PEM, this can be a life changer when you're traveling. And the last thing I have here, which probably doesn't need to be in this huge, massive pouch, but it comes in this massive pouch, which is kind of cool. And sometimes I just don't take things out. These are Jetlag medications that come from a company called Fount Bio. This is called their Fly Kit, and it comes with an app where you put in your travel dates, you put in your flight time, etc., and it tells you what time of day to take all of these supplements. And there are 4 different ones: melatonin and magnesium for sleep, high dose vitamin C and tar cherry powder, B6 and B12, and this one is omega-3 fatty acids and fish oil. These really do work. I used them for the first time when I went to Japan last May, and I did not have jet lag at all, and it was amazing. I travel a lot. I have gotten a lot of jet lag in my lifetime, and these are science-based from a lovely company. I really do love them, which is why I have them in my bag. They also come with these red light glasses so that you can minimize the brightness if it's the wrong time of day and you're adjusting to the time. They've actually gotten a lot cheaper, which is fantastic. I bought a ton when they were quite expensive, but the prices come down a lot. The one caveat I would say with these, I really struggle to get tablets down. You can see these, especially omega-3, are absolutely enormous, and that would make anybody gag. I just tell myself, do what you can. Some of these may also interact with what you're taking, so obviously double check with your physician. I just take a little bit of what I can when I remember, when I feel like it. It still seems to make a difference for me. They give you coffee and sugar packets to reset your circadian rhythm. I cannot do full strength coffee. I have to switch that out for decaf, but it still helps me a little bit. And I feel like that's better than nothing. And you know how it is with our nervous system. We do what we can, we support it, and there's no such thing as perfect. I do also have in their original container, I keep my low-dose naltrexone in the original container. I don't think technically LDN is a controlled substance, but naltrexone is a little bit interesting. And so sometimes people do want to see that in the regular container. And then these two are definitely controlled substances. One is Xanax and one is Ambien. These are my absolute need for jet lag reset, and so I always travel with those in the original container. I do also have Flonase nasal spray. I also have a Zelestine nasal spray, which is in the other room. This is a liquid, and it is absolutely fine to put it in your medibag and carry it through TSA, because medibag is exempt from the liquids rule. As long as you tell them, this is my medibag and flash this, they will not be concerned. You may have noticed that the teeny tiny B12 is also liquid, and also these are liquid, and that is no problem at all. Please, if you have any questions about what I bring, do let me know. I will potentially do another video when I'm traveling with my bigger bag, which has a few other things in it, some of which I mentioned, some of which I might be blanking on right now. Yeah. In the comments, please let me know, are there any other things that you bring that maybe I don't, that you want to recommend to people? Any questions you want to ask? It might be nice to put together a checklist, because I know when I pack, remembering everything is a nightmare. Also, I don't know if you've noticed this phenomenon. I never used to notice this happening. Because our brains can't tell the difference between something that we have thought about doing and something that we have done, which is great when you are trying to inspire your body and you think about all the things that you want to do and your body acts as if you had already done those. It's not so great when you think about double checking this and then your brain thinks you've already done it and you haven't. One of my personal favorites is to find that there is something from here that is missing on every single trip. This time I had not brought enough famotidine, even though I had checked it 20 times. Thankfully, you can get famotidine on prescription here from one of the online pharmacies. I missed a couple of doses, but I'm back on it now. So having a checklist to go through and write down whether you have actually done something rather than you just mentally rehearsing it. Let me know if you're interested in that. I can certainly put one together. This is my Medibag. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a tolerable week, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Take care.